Hey there, Shankar, everybody. Welcome back for another amazing podcast. Today, with me, I have brought back the man, the legend, Brother Farhan. We're going to talk again about some of the questions you guys had, and we're going to go into details about some of the other details and comments that were made. So, inshallah, this is going to be another discussion and less of a point. We're going to try to keep it informal, but also formal. Aki, welcome back. How are you feeling? How's the day? What's going on?
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, everything's good, raring to go. I didn't realize that there was comments on the video. I normally get notifications for my video, and I've not really done a podcast before, so I didn't realize that I need to check up on your comments as well on your channel.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for, right? I'm gonna send you the I'm gonna say the details so it's a little bit more natural in regards to the question. So let's start off with
Alhamdulillah.
this. We had in the last discussion we talked about living about people are moving from the UK to Pakistan, from different countries to Pakistan. We mentioned about the WhatsApp group and the Telegram group
Yeah.
and all the crazy conversations that are happening there. It's quite interesting to see some of the conversations some days. I told you even today that I think we should put up a bot that summarizes everything, makes our life
Yeah.
easier. But mashallah, it's good. It's good. You have there's energy, and obviously people are very passionate about what they're talking about. So let's go
Definitely.
into this. Let's start off with this. The steps, and I know last time we kind of didn't go to details of this, but like the steps of making hijrah. Let's start off from scratch. You're in UK, Canada, America, wherever you are. You want to
Yeah.
migrate to, let's say, Pakistan or wherever. Let's say Turkey or
Yeah.
Dubai. What's the thought process? What is this actionable steps?
Well, mine was first, where are we gonna live? That was it. For 5 years, I was researching where are we gonna live.
Uh-huh.
And once we looked at all the different areas of Rawalpindi, Islamabad, my village, well, my parents' village, and the properties that they have, we kind of settled on one of them. And then after you've settled on where you want to live, is how are you going to earn? So it's always where are you gonna live first?
Okay, so first thing is research. I think that's what you gotta. That's very important.
Yeah.
I think even before that is the mindset. I
Yeah.
think understanding the emotionally what you're doing. You're leaving, where you were raised, where you were born, where your parents are probably gonna still want to stay rather than them coming with you, but you have made
Yeah.
that decision. And I think there's an element where what I recommend to people, or what I would say to people is have a journal. Your reasons behind why you are thinking of this anyway. Because then
Definitely.
that journal is going to do two things. Once when you write it, it's going to affirm it for yourself. There's a
Definitely.
reason why zikr is one of the most important ibadah. Why? Because it reaffirms for you that Allah is the most merciful, Allah is the most Rahman Rahim. So those elements. So then you're indirectly fixating it in your brain. Secondly, is
Yeah.
when you have doubts again, you can go back to your journal, read the journal, and be like, no, 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 no. I have to go back into the mindset and reaffirm myself that I am doing this. So the first is mindset. Second is research. Research as to
Definitely.
where, and then the next thing is you need to make sure also your income sources. Okay, good. Then from there, what would you say comes next?
Then yeah, once you've sorted out your income, where you're going to live, then it's a matter of okay, let's visit Pakistan every single year, start getting used to it. Let's start watching YouTube videos. Let's start traveling around.
Subscribe to my British life, Farhan Bhai's channel, which is gonna be in
Yeah,
the description. Subscribe to my
yeah,
channel too. Come on, you gotta know how to make the halal money.
yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Because you can't just turn up here and be like, I'm here. I've got my house
Uh-huh.
down the road. I've got an income, but then you don't know how to assimilate into this new culture, into this new neighborhood that you've just joined. And by the way, from my research, each neighborhood is different. So if you live in different parts of Islamabad, each neighborhood is different. Blue area is different to Ziraj Housing Society, which is near Giga Mall, which is different to DHA, which is behind Giga Mall. So essentially, in front of Giga Mall and behind Giga Mall is different. In Barrier Town, each phase is different. You get
Yep.
different people. Each block, each apartment block is different. Each road is different. Each housing estate is different. You have to choose one that's going to fit with you the best.
Yep. And I will say that even if you don't talk about Pakistan, even if you talk about Dubai, because Alhamdulillah, I've kind of did a little bit traveling in UAE. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Business Bay, Marina, Palm, Sharjah, all these places are different. There's different crowds. There's different types of even expats there. So the
yeah,
different types of classes. And even when it comes to Turkey, the same element. Certain areas are way too liberal. Certain areas are very conservative, right?
def-
And also the way of living and all these elements. So yeah, okay. So I got it. So I think you got into a little bit more details about research. So I think let's go a little even deep dive into the element of research. What am I researching? So we talked about first is
Yeah.
where, and then I guess the second research is how do you initiate that move? What
So
should people think about
wh-
when it comes to that?
where as in which country, or where as in where in Pakistan?
I would say from both elements, where in which country and where in Pakistan. Like for example, if you don't choose
Yeah.
Pakistan, you'll choose someplace, right? So you're gonna have to kind of specify exactly that location too.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, where, as in any Muslim country, would I relocate to was really easy because a lot of them were out of the price range anyway for a lot of people living in the West. The amount of investment you have to do to get the nationality can be out of reach. Secondly, would you really want to live long term somewhere else other than where you originated from? Eventually, you will go back. You know, every river will meet the sea. So every person will go back to its source. So it was definitely going to be Pakistan one way or another. So once we decided on Pakistan, then I had a quick look at the main cities, Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. I wanted Karachi first because of what it has to offer. It's got everything to offer, Karachi does. Whatever you need is there. But at the same time, it's got all the bad to offer as well. So again, that quickly went off the
Okay.
list.
Hmm.
Lahore was a bit too modern, a bit too I would say, you know, if you leave in the West, then you need to leave Lahore as well. In one sense,
Hey,
it,
I'm in
it's
lower. What do you think?
it's just too it's just too easy to have that luxury life and
Element of fitna.
start
Mm.
chasing that you know that go to life that some
Lahore
celebrity
is a
has.
hustler. Lahore does
Yeah.
have elements of like the hustler environment, especially in certain areas. For example, Johor town, or again, I think
Yeah.
we're getting into too many details of exactly where in Lahore, but yes.
Yeah, no, no, it's true, 100%. So that's why Lahore was off the list. Then I settled for Islamabad. It's very similar to where I live in the UK in Sheffield, where it's one of the greenest, largest cities, and so is Islamabad. It's very green. I liked the whole landscape, and I liked the downtown Islamabad around Faisal Masjid. Around there, that's what we call downtown. But
Yes.
then the property
Yeah.
prices there are too high. So I thought, okay, where can I live? Where can I
Yeah.
live that's close enough for me to travel to downtown Islamabad? And I would like that area. So that's why we settled to my parents, my father's flat, which is only an hour away from downtown Islamabad. And I don't have to pay rent. So that financial side of things, the burdens are taken away straight away. Think about it. If you don't have to pay rent, if you don't have to put deposit down, if you don't have to furnish the apartment, or let's say it is furnished, if you don't have to make it into a home and you don't have to do X, Y, and Z and think, okay, what if I have to leave after a year? What if the landlord kicks me out after 2 months or 2 years? Or what if I don't want to stay here anymore after 6 months? So the win-win situation was my father's flat where I can just come here, stay here, renovate the place, and not worry that, you know what, I have to leave. Because the bottom line is staying within the family
Mm.
anyway. So this was our trial period, which has carried on,
Yeah.
and it looks like we're staying here.
So I'm gonna break this down in regards to your research. So you
Yeah,
wanted to figure out where, and for that you had to kind of do your research by traveling to those places, looking at it
definitely.
from an element of, okay, is this a place where I can maintain my spiritual elements too? Not
Definitely.
you have to look at whatever your requirements are, right?
Yeah.
We go back to the reasons why you're leaving in the first place. You don't want to go to the new place and have the same issues, right? So then you
Mm,
said, okay, fine, Karachi doesn't work for me, Lahore doesn't work for me, but this place does. And maybe Lahore
yeah,
works for some people, and maybe Karachi works for some people, right? Like I met a
definitely.
family who has been working and thinking about making, moving back to Karachi from Canada, right? So
Wow.
for them, that is, the proper place because there is the element of deen and ulama around the area that they are, and so for them,
Definitely.
that's where they want to go. But Kat, so you have to look at the reason why you left. For the new place, you have to figure out, does this solve my problem? And if it
Yeah.
does, then the next thing is cost. You talked about how for you coming here, cost was also a great reason and incentive.
Yeah.
So you have to look at cost because listen, you are right. We talked about this. You can't just walk up, just get up and just go to another country and expect like that whole element of lifestyle is going to be maintained. Plus, you're going to have the financials
Yeah.
backed up there. No, no, no. You have to set up your pillars of success.
Mm,
Now, that could mean that you can go to that country and find a role there that is well paying and blah, 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 blah. Or B, you can establish those pillars within UK, Canada, America, and then move. Like I know people who have moved to like places like Turkey or places like the Cocoon, Turks and Cocoon. I don't know what it's actually called completely, but it's like this island, and it's like a full vacation island, and they live there, but they have their businesses in Canada. So it's like
Definitely,
they've set up that element of thing. Now, I'm not saying that's the only way, but I'm saying what I'm trying to say is that figure out your financial
definitely.
position and make a decision aligned with that. Because if you make hijrah or you make migration, remigration to any place, and that one major thing is not met, you're gonna have a very tough time, and you're gonna go back really quickly. So
Mhm.
okay, so we got this set, right? First is the mindset. Then you start doing research. Within research, you do these things. Now, okay, I'm
Yeah,
ready. I know I want to go to this place. Like, you know, you want to go to Islamabad. What's the next steps? Like, is it that you got to tell your family, your parents? Is it that
yeah.
you got to start putting in the banking systems? Like, what is the next steps after you're ready to go?
Honestly, this next step is going to be the hardest. It'll be the funniest thing ever. That once you've done all your research and you're set on where you're going to go and you've sorted your income out, your financials is sorted, now telling your family that you want to leave and live in Pakistan is harder than earning money, is harder than doing research of where you want to live. Trust me. Some
The
people are stuck in
emotion,
that.
the emotional like ranches that are used to be like, what's wrong with you, this and that. Okay, yeah, tell us a little bit about that. Give us some stories. I'm pretty sure you have some stories.
I receive emails, and this is not, I wouldn't say it's rare, I think it's common,
Hmm.
where they tell me not to share the name or anything, and they tell me what the situation is. And they said, look, I want to move, I've got everything in place, but what my
Yeah.
wife's saying no, or my parents are saying no, and they can't do anything, and they're stuck. But they just want to express that they want to move, but they're stuck in
Uh-huh.
that position, and they don't know what to do. And they're always saying, "Oh, don't share my name, don't share this. You can read my email out, but make sure you don't mention this." So I do get that a lot. And even when I told my parents that, look, I want to move, they didn't take me seriously until we gave the
You left.
money. No, no, that wasn't it. Because the thing was, they had to take out the tenants from this flat.
Ah,
All of my parents' flats were not vacant. They had tenants here, and they've been
mashallah,
living here for
Ramadan.
9 odd years, mashallah. So
Subhanallah.
to, to evict a tenant who's been here for so many years, for somebody
Ah,
you don't, your son might
yeah,
not live there for more than 2 months. What's the point?
yeah, yeah,
So what we said was we put our money where our mouth is, right? We said
yeah.
we're gonna give you money, take it there. Whatever little things we need doing to the flat, you can do it all with that money.
Mm.
So in the geyser, the boiler, the hot water sorted
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
We said we don't want to use whatever bed there is there. We want a brand new bed. We want this. We want that. Right. So we sent some money over, and that was that sealed the deal for us. They knew that we're
mm,
serious because think
mm.
about it. Your child just turns out of the blue and says, "I want to move to Pakistan." What drug are they taking? What's going on? Normally
Yeah,
when someone takes a 360 move, something's happened that's they've hit stress or anxiety or depression or something's happened where now
yeah,
they've gone a bit loopy really. That's what we said. They've gone a
yeah.
bit loopy. But obviously that wasn't the case. I mean, I envisioned that I'm gonna move here and I stuck to my vision and I saw it through to the end.
Mashallah, mashallah. So that I
Alhamdulillah.
think that for me is also, I would say, one extra pillar. One extra thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to be a rijal, and what I mean by that is you have to be a man when he makes that commitment. You live through it.
Definitely.
You don't
Definitely.
sit back and fimble fabble about different things. No, you go and you say, I've done it, I'm doing it, and I'm doing it like, and you seriously take an action upon it. Action is very important, not just a thought process. Okay, so then you gotta tell the stories to your family, and you gotta
Yeah.
tell them we're prepared, ready to go. Now everything is set. Everybody knows you're going. Now what do you do? Now is it the time to book tickets, or is it like somebody comes here first, or goes to Dubai first, or goes to whatever country that they're migrating to first, and does what something? What would you recommend from that side?
Booking tickets
Okay.
because your tickets can be a make or break depending on how big your family is. The tickets to
Hmm.
Pakistan have skyrocketed recently, but when
Yeah.
I booked, I would say 8 months before
Mhm.
I made my hijrah. I booked my tickets for. I'm gonna say it in English currency and Pakistani currency, just so that you get an idea. My tickets were literally what currently is about 90,000 rupees per person,
Mm.
which at the time
Okay.
was £240 for me, one-way ticket.
Mm.
Right now, one-way ticket is triple that price.
Subhanallah.
So if
From the
yeah,
UK.
from the UK, can you believe that?
Gas prices, man. The gas prices. Oh. Subhanallah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you times that price by three and then times that by how many people are in your family, then that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's
What
a lot
I
of
would first recommend, what I would think about is that one person from the family goes initially. You can book it
yeah,
back to like 1 month difference. They go and they make sure everything's in place, like the house is in place, your Sims, your internet, like everything is in place before you
yeah,
bring in your family. Because I think the element of shock, first impression is a huge issue. First, if your wife is already having an issue with you saying, you want to go, and if your parents are going coming with you and they're already having an issue with that, and then your kids, I think what I see from even from the discussions and from a lot of discussions with others is that discussions in the WhatsApp group and discussions with others is that the kids are a big make or break. Like I know a family
yes,
that had moved to
definitely,
Pakistan completely for 2 years. They stayed 3 years or something like that, and then they moved back to Canada because the kids were just not having it,
exactly.
and they were all homeschooling. And I just think if they had a better experience in the sense like they were involved with the community, like my other friends that I know who remigrated here and they have loved it because they were to merge into and having friends locally here who were also like similar mindseted and they had a much better experience. Okay, so now we are all right. I got the tickets. I'm coming. Or let's just say we came to Pakistan. Now, what are the next steps? What do you go to locals? You make introductions. Is there something I need to buy? I need to sell. Is there what are important things that I must do as soon as I land to make sure I'm established for success?
As soon as you land in Pakistan,
Yeah, because look, we already decided that we're
yeah,
coming. We bought the tickets. The
yeah.
family is here.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, I mean, but prior to that, I was selling everything.
Yeah.
I sold,
Oh yeah, I
sold
forgot that part.
everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because that hard. Because believe it or not, whilst I was in Pakistan, I was still getting calls from my cousin in England saying that somebody's turned up trying to buy certain things that I'm selling. And obviously, I'm here, they're there, and I'm negotiating the price over the phone. So
Yeah.
once I got here, I'm telling you, the hardest things are if you don't have a car. Okay, fair enough.
Mm,
In drive and things like that, you can
yeah,
use them, but honestly, without a car, you will feel a big
yeah,
difference. You
yes,
need a car.
yeah, yes, yeah.
And your money situation, that will pinch you a lot. We were at the beginning, we were cashing our money out directly from the bank. So we didn't have a
Mm-hmm,
bank account at the time. And that
mm-hmm,
was that was making it difficult for us because
mm-hmm,
every time we ran out of money, we're stuck.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
A lot of places take cash here locally. I mean,
Yep.
I'm not in Islamabad. I live
Mm-hmm,
in district Rawalpindi, so a lot of places take cash. So I
mm-hmm,
would have we keep running to the bank, and then they changed
mm-hmm,
the rules in the bank where you have to have an account to get the money out. So now I've got account, so now I can cash out in the ATM. So that helps a lot. So the
mm-hmm,
money and the transport were the two biggest things, and the third biggest thing was the shock of trying to live in the property and noticing things that maybe your elders will not notice as an issue, but you do, such as the walls and the paint, and
mm-hmm,
things are not finished and things are not nice and things are a bit damaged,
mm-hmm,
stuff like that. So we started fixing and repairing everything. And that's taken most of my time up. I'm still getting
mm-hmm,
work done even now. Even till
mm-hmm,
this
mm-hmm.
day, I'm still getting work done.
Okay. So there you go. And so I get it. You get it. That's what I said. If somebody comes a little bit before, they can have all those different things. I would say 50% you can plan for, 50% you have to just feel and then
Yeah,
work around it. You have to be someone who's
definitely.
even if you're very well planned and organized, sometimes it's just that you're gonna have to be there and the things are gonna pop up and you have to be someone who's very quick at solving problems. And so then you
Yeah,
can solve
definitely.
those problems before your family comes and says, "What is this kachara? What is this bakwas
Yeah,
that you
no,
brought me?"
it's true.
Right? So,
Yes.
okay, perfect. So now we know the journey of coming here. Hope you guys are enjoying the video. And as you guys are, hit that subscribe button. Let's make that Mashallah money together. I think I'll add in some more questions in there. What would you say in regards to bank account settings? Like, would you recommend you still have a bank account back there? Would you recommend you make a Wise account or a PayPal account where you can migrate money and you can move? Because like Wise can help you kind of be very remote. Like you can move to multiple countries and you can
Yeah,
keep your currency. Personally, I would say crypto, but I don't want to get discussions
yeah.
about that here. But yeah, so you can that way you can manage your currency regardless of which country you're in. So any recommendations from that end?
I mean, I've had a PayPal account since I was 16, and I think
Mhm,
PayPal
mhm,
is one of the best things you can use.
mhm,
Unfortunately, PayPal doesn't work in Pakistan, as in people can't use it here locally. but we can
Okay.
because we have foreign bank account and we got a foreign
Yes.
passport. But
Yeah.
yeah, either way, you should just have a PayPal account anyway, whether you use it or not.
Hmm.
Wise is good, and other multinational, international bank accounts that work all over the world are awesome because you can cash out without being charged at a good rate, and you could use it, wherever they accept card. But yeah, you have to get a local account, and the only local account you can get is the one with a 10 lakh limit because any
Uh-huh.
proper account, you would have to show your wages and income. You have to
Yes.
kind of be working here, showing your
Yes.
regular wage slip of a local currency from a local job of local
Hmm.
money. I try
Hmm.
taking in my foreign currency or my foreign work. I try showing them that look, this is what I get every month, and they go, it doesn't work like that. You have to have local. If you're gonna show us the
Yeah.
foreign money, we'll give you a foreign
Hmm.
account, which I didn't want.
Why? You don't mind me asking.
Why didn't I want that account? That account still had a limit. It was like an
Okay.
online account, and then they make you be like self-employed or something. And I just wanted a normal account, what everyone else has, because when they cash
Mm.
out, they can cash out up to 2 lakh in one go, whereas I can only do
Mm.
40,000 in one go. And yeah,
Yeah.
if I spend more than one
So
lakh, I can't use
yeah.
my account in a month.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think I can solve
Yeah,
that problem for you, but we'll talk about that off the air. Okay, so here's another thing. So you guys have to keep this in mind too, in regards to your financials and system. So what I've done, aside from the bank account, is I've had my Easy Pesa, and through Easy
yeah,
Pesa, like I have,
yeah,
I'm not saying that I've migrated here, but I'm saying since I'm here and I know myself, I like to have
yeah,
everything's like I'm very planned and organized type of guy when it comes to like these things. So as soon as I came, I made Easy Pesa. I got the most updated account, and that kind of gives you like I think 10 lakh capability,
yeah, yeah.
and you can link that
Okay.
to other accounts. But I see what you're saying. Element of saving, buying bigger properties, purchasing, and blah 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 blah. There is a way around it,
Yeah,
and that's usually through business. So if you set up your own
yeah,
business, you can pay yourself and these things.
yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah,
we can go into this after. I think I don't want to go too many details because there's so many questions I see here from other people. I wanted to ask you, there's many reasons we've talked about in the chat why people are trying to make hijrah, right?
yeah,
So the pros and cons. What were the celebrity person? What were your specific reasons? And I think you told me about the mortgage and the thing.
yeah.
Buying able to buy a house. But let's think a little bit bigger than just finance, right? What I want to make like a list for people why they should consider making hijrah or not. So what other reasons you think you've seen in the chat that people are talking about when it comes to why they should make hijrah? What's the reasons? Why? Why should I do it? I don't want to do
The
it. Tell me
West,
why.
yeah, definitely. The West, although it says it's got freedom of religion under the Human Rights Act and stuff, and you can
Hmm.
practice your religion freely,
Hmm.
it feels more and more that being religious and being person that's following Islam is being looked down on, and there's more and more restrictions put on us, and we're judged differently. If I turned up into an interview and a even another Pakistani who doesn't have a beard and maybe talks a bit better than me, he's got more chance of getting a job than I do, and we know that that exists. The last job I had in a call center, a big office type environment, I noticed my white counterparts climbing up the ladder very, very, very quickly in front of my eyes, even though I had more experience, and I saw that for
Mhm.
myself.
And
And
that's because of magnitude of reasons too. Sorry, I'm cutting you off, but that's a
yeah,
magnitude of reasons. That's
yeah,
one element is bias too, but that's also other things like
yeah,
structured bias, where they're gonna have a networking night where all the
yeah,
seniors are gonna meet up, and that's where
yeah,
it's filled with alcohol, and either
definitely,
they're at a bar. Sometimes I don't want to say this, but sometimes they go to strip clubs. There's
yeah,
all
yeah,
these different things that they do. Astaghfirullah, and so then you don't want to be in that environment. I remember when same thing like yourself, like I love networking. That's my hobby. So I'll be having to make very conflicted decisions inside my heart. Do I go or do I
yeah,
not go? But if I go, I know I can potentially upgrade my network and my net
definitely.
worth for like X amount. But I'm like, it's being dunya. That's the
It's
issue
true.
there, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah,
That's
sorry, I
what I was
cut
going
you
to
off.
go on to say. Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. That it's because they go to these events and drink alcohol and party and stuff that they're able to climb up the ladder. So before I left, they had one of these networking dudes, like you just said, and this time it was in a nightclub, right? And they had alcohol, and the alcohol was free. And I found myself having to explain why I'm not going to attend. But the
Yeah,
other interesting thing was
yeah.
they had a monthly subscription which was only cheap. It was £3, which is about $5 a month. And what they do is once a week they give out treats. They go to the wholesalers, they grab, bulk buy certain treats, and they say, you can have these every week. Also, because you're paying that money, it pays towards the end of year do kind of a thing, networking do. And when I noticed that it was in a nightclub with alcohol and stuff, and I'm paying towards that, so I had to cancel that account as well and
Mhm.
explain why I am. But then when you look at the list,
Yeah,
of the people attending,
yeah.
you'll be
Muslims,
yes.
Muslims. Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and then of the Muslims, how many
yeah,
stories you hear the next day of who was drunk and what happened and this happened
yeah,
and that happened.
yeah,
You feel more and more uncomfortable, not
yeah.
only in that workplace, but knowing that other people are going through this. Okay, what if okay, you stay away from it, but what if that's your son in 20 years time, 30
So
years
I
time?
go. This topic is a big one, okay, and I kind of mentioned this in the chat too. But going back to what you just said, every element of financial transaction that's happening in the West, I assure you, majority of them has some element assisting haram. It could be
Yes,
riba, it could be zina,
yes,
it could be khamar, which is alcohol, it could be the oppression of your own kind, oppression
yes,
of the weak, and also like
yep,
things against Palestine. You might not understand this. For example, this is in the UK. Did you know in the UK that tax money was going back to pay the people that had freed slaves in the 1800s? And
all right,
very recently, the taxation had paid itself off from 1800s. So imagine you
yeah,
are paying for somebody else's pain for letting go of slaves, which happened two centuries before you even maybe existing. Like I can tell you so many different things, and this is why ilm is so important about these things. Khair,
mm,
and I'm not even talking about if on the day of judgment you will be asked for it or not. That's another layer on
yeah,
top of this. But I don't want to bring this conversation there. The second thing you just said is about the element of family and kids, right? This is a
yeah,
very huge conversation, right? I was recently I was quoting Pew Research in the WhatsApp group about how Pew Research in America had asked religious, like Christians, blah blah blah, different religion families on in regards to like the religious beliefs and different things from it. From that study, we found out that 20% of immigrant Muslims leave Islam. This is America.
wow,
20%.
wow,
Yani, this is
wow,
Pew
yeah,
Research. Pew Research is one of the biggest, right? So
yeah,
you guys can Google it too. You guys can Google it too. Whoever's watching, you can Google it if you have questions, right? And obviously, I'm not going to quote something without reading into it. So this is one research. I have multiple magnitude of research from these elements. So, Khair, so we got one reason is family and your future kids. We can go to LGBTQ issues. We can talk about their controlling your kids. We can talk about how the education system is no more what it used to be 20 years ago, where the focus of the education was education rather than manipulating your kid into doing different things and exploiting themselves and haram and blah, blah, blah. So there's that. We talked about money. We talked about networking and career. What else? What other topics are coming to your brain?
When I was in college, I
Mm,
remember feeling really uncomfortable about some statistics. Although
mm,
Muslims were something like 3% or 4% in the whole of the United Kingdom, we
mhm.
made up 30% of the jails.
Subhanallah. So the Muslims in UK are the blacks of America. Is that
Yeah,
what it is? Subhanallah.
yeah. And people check this out.
Mm,
People were reverting to Islam from
yes.
going to jail, being amongst the Muslim gangsters or whatever, and converting to Islam because they wanted to be part of that pack. And then coming out, Muslims with beards and changing the names and praying, but still selling drugs and still going about their daily lives, which I
Yep.
found really uncomfortable. Is that the future that we really want to
Okay.
see? Uh,
Yeah,
how is
yeah,
it going to change? If it hasn't
yeah.
changed since the 1970s, we were in
Mhm.
2020 now, how
Mhm.
much brighter is the future for Muslims in the West?
1930s, technically. 1930s. The Mir
Yeah,
Puris, brothers of
yeah,
ours
yeah,
from Pakistan,
yeah.
have migrated there from the 1930s and 40s. And it's sad.
Wow.
So here I'm gonna
Yeah.
quote another thing here. I don't know if it's factual or not. This one you guys can kind of take it with a grain of salt. I recently read a post from an ulama's, I think, granddaughter, talking about how within 3 generations of being in the West, they've lost even half of their family to atheism or Christianity, right?
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
but this one I can coach you because this is what I've experienced, right? in
Yeah.
Toronto, in Canada, there's many
Yeah.
mosques that were built in the 1970s and 60s from the Trinidadian and Tobagan Caribbean
Yeah.
Muslim families that had migrated there. Their kids
Yeah.
now don't even know that their great grandfather built that mosque.
Wow.
So, this is the
Wow.
situation, right? It's about, subhanAllah, we talk about, I was talking to another brother and I was like, we talk about, the Muslim religious families within the West. I'm like, I can confidently say that it's about 5%. It's about 5 to
Yeah.
10% of the families are actually on deen, on haq. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying these are the ones that are like doing, 7 time prayers a day with ishruk and tahajjud and they're fasting Mondays. No, there's just families that are coming to salah in the mosque and they're not doing anything haram in the sense of riba and stuff. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, that makes sense. So you think you are gonna be, or your next generation is that 5% or
Yeah.
10%? It's a difficult
Yeah.
one to accept,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and then I'm gonna add one more thing on top of this is not only is it only like 5-10%. Let's talk about how many of these ulama families, kids have left Islam.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
da'is. I'm talking about da'is who are like this.
Yeah.
They're like the fathers of
Yeah. Yeah.
dawa from like the 1990s to early 2000s. The biggest ulamas sometimes and I
Yeah.
know them. You know what I'm saying? I know
Yeah.
them. Their kids are openly doing haram, and I don't want to even mention what type of haram because some people will be able to correlate who I'm talking about. So I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah.
But so
We've
subhanallah,
got the same issue. Yeah.
right? So, and UK is more advanced than we are, right?
Yeah.
UK than Canada and America. UK has had the experience of Muslim growth there, and I do agree. We have great people coming out of UK like Mohammed Hijab, Hamza Tazortis.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
great dais like Abdul Green and different ulama. But here's the conversation: like, what is that percentage? You know,
Small.
if
Yeah.
if you're not that prime 5% and you don't think you can raise kids to become that prime 5%, be careful because look, being in a Muslim country, it's just easy. You die on iman anyways. You know what
Yeah.
I realized here?
Yeah.
Even especially in Pakistan. This is Pakistani kids I'm talking about. Ilm, not so strong. Like these are like, your average kids. Not so strong. Amal of the small ilm, they have, yes. But iman, bro, it's up here. You know that
Yeah.
hadith where it says that, sorry, if it's a hadith or I believe it's a hadith. Forgive me if this is wrong. Or somebody correct me. There's going to be a time when in the morning people are going to be Muslims, by night they're going to be kuffar,
Yeah. 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 That's it. Yeah. By
right?
nightfall, there'll be kuffar. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing. That is us. I would say my generation because we have indulged in such thick conversations of anti-Islam where if somebody comes to you and you can't answer a question, you might even start second guessing yourself. Oh, am I
Yeah.
really? Should is Islam really the correct thing? Like like I brought up the conversation of metaphysics and dinosaurs to a brother, right? And they were like, "Oh man, that's true. Islam doesn't answer about dinosaurs. Like you're so." I'm like, "This is all it took me to like take your iman and just like so I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Kara, sorry, I'm going on a rant here because like there's so many things that reasons behind the West and leaving. Okay, so we talked about a
Yeah.
child. Oh my God, we talked about so many things. Any other topics that can come to your head? And I mean, there's probably 60, 70 reasons, but I'm trying to get more as many in this conversation.
Of leaving the West.
Yes.
It's really hard to even, when you're purchasing your food. I remember people were saying, you can't have that sandwich. It's made by a non-Muslim.
Mhm.
But then what can you have then? Everything's been touched by somebody.
Even in Muslim halal restaurants, there's
Yeah.
non-Muslims working in the background. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So there's this really uncomfortable racism taking place, but then they're living there, and then it's giving you like mixed, impressions of what's going on. What is really the issue? But then they're smoking and then touching food straight after. Like how much more better is that than
yeah,
the non-Muslim? So if you can't accept the British people for who they are, then why live there? Like part of the Muslims will be like, we are better.
mm,
You should always look down on the non-Muslims. And then the other part is we need to thank them for allowing us to come to the country. We need to be
mhm,
the best. We need to be the best examples to them, which is
mhm.
true. But I've always noticed that 50-50 split where there's those
I
that
see
are
what you're
just
saying.
racist.
I think the hypocrisy, the self-developed
It is.
hypocrisy, and that is
It
aligned with
is.
racism too. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's for sure also there. Um, since we are on a Islamic or I would say halal finance or soft development channel, I have to throw this in there. Riba.
yeah,
Habibi, I want to say some things here about this. So just so people can maybe understand this a little bit more in detail. We have to understand that the West has indulged in stealing for the last 100 years of finances
yeah,
across the world. And that's how they've built themselves up. So the works
yeah,
that you see when it comes to New York, it's not New York because
yeah,
it was corely from New York. No, it was because the element of financial wars and stuff, right? The war systems,
yeah.
which still exist. And I don't want to go into details of this because this video and this channel might get banned. But maybe inshallah, somewhere time in the future, I'll go into details
Uh-huh.
with it with like
Yeah,
proper documentation.
yeah,
Then the second element of it, you have to understand they are a debt-based system. A debt-based system is an interest-based system. They have trillions of dollars of debt. So the buildings that you're seeing, the infrastructure that
yeah,
you're seeing is not technically real. It's a debt. It's a debt
yeah.
system, which
Wow.
look, they've enjoyed it. They've grown themselves from the early 2000s, from Industrial Revolution one after World War Two and World War Two, World War One and World War Two. They've taken on that debt. They've built themselves up. But guess who's gonna pay it back? It's gonna be the working backs of us, or they're gonna continue
Yeah.
doing wars to continue this
So,
system because it's not on the gold stand anymore. But a country like Pakistan has maybe $30 billion in debt, where they have $3 trillion in debt. But a country like Pakistan
wow.
is looked down upon for $30 billion in debt, but they're not looked down upon for $3 trillion of debt. And before somebody comes back to me and says, "Oh, but they can pay it back," and this and that. I'm from economics. No, they cannot pay it back. Because if they were in the same situation, they did pay it back, America would be in a worse situation than Pakistan is. If America went down to,
Yeah.
let's say, even $300 billion in debt, their situation would be worse than ours. That's how they're sufficing their systems. So, Kat, we
Wow.
have to understand that. Now, I'm going to add another layer on top of this. When we go to these countries, we get acquired and we start admiring and we start working with that system of debt. These economies are built upon it, and that's why we go there and we start taking mortgages and start, getting
Definitely.
mortgages on cars and houses.
Yes.
Look, I say very simply, I read the fatwas, right? In this channel, I've talked about the fatwas that the ulama have given in regards to you can get one house or whatnot, and I've given
Yeah.
alternatives to it. And I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna go to like each fatwa and I'm gonna break down each fatwa, the 40, 50 pages. And I'm gonna be like, look, this is what it says truly. So before you go and say I'm quoting Tahir Qadri or I'm quoting the European Council or I'm
Yeah.
quoting the American Council, this is what the American Council means. And they are trying to build a house in those lands, but they might be sacrificing. I say the word might because I'm not Allah and I can't make judgment. They might be sacrificing their akhirah, their house in the akhirah.
It's true. It's true.
And I'll give you one
I
example
agree.
of this. Milton is my where I'm recently, like, my family originates from. Like, this is very close to Toronto. And I was talking to an ulama there about it, and there he quoted. He said there's a study actually on the highest mortgage societies within Canada. Milton is majority Muslim area, and guess what?
Yeah.
80% of homes in Milton are on mortgage, are on riba.
Mortgage.
So when you
Wow.
so you are in a you have gone there, you have shaken your hands with direct war against Allah and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then you
So,
put yourself in a system where you're in that war for 30 years. You think at the ending of that war after 30 years you're gonna win?
no,
I
no
don't know.
chance.
I don't know, man. I don't know. And so what happens with this is
Yeah.
the element of barakah. Barakah is directly aligned with halal income and halal food and halal, things that you bring into your house and the halal house that you live in. Your kid, you
Yeah.
ever wonder why ulama's kids, when I was quoting you imams, is because these similar imams have taken a mortgage, second mortgage, and a business on mortgage.
Wow.
And so these
Wow.
ulamas, I'm going into a little bit core details here. The ulama's kids are not anywhere near the element of deen. Why would they? Because they're eating haram, they're living haram.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, how do you expect
Yeah.
them to continue on with living to become a strong Muslim-minded family? So, sorry, I went on a little rant, but here's multiple points, and I think we can do an entire 5-hour video on all the points. But Kat, I'm gonna
Definitely.
get you a chance to chime in on that, and then we're gonna go into if there's any other points you want to mention before I go to the next question.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I've noticed that even in the UK where the imams or the scholars or the alims, their children are the most off the deen compared to everyone else. And it must be how they're dealing with their money must be something that's going wrong. That's why that's going on.
Barakah.
Subhanallah. So
Yeah, yeah.
upsetting to see.
Yeah,
Upsetting to see, isn't
subhanallah.
it?
Subhanallah. Okay, next thing. Akifar, I know I'm taking a little bit extra time of yours, but I gotta go to the next topic because these are questions that in comments that came directly in the video.
Yeah,
How do you make your
yeah.
income?
I am a physics tutor for kids in the UK.
MashaAllah. Quantum
Alhamdulillah.
mechanics out here.
Yeah, so physics GCSE,
MashaAllah.
which is obviously when a child is between the ages of 14 and 16 years old. Uh, that's what I normally focus on. But since being here, I've kind of expanded and offer tuition to younger children on all subjects, so that I've
MashaAllah.
always got, a customer base. Because the thing with Pakistan or living abroad is, if you run out of your money source, you can't just start working in a local takeaway or something, or a local shop, or set up
Mm.
business and assume that it's gonna feed you and your family overnight. It's just not going to happen. So I had to kind of expand the subjects and topics that I do. But that's my main source of income. I've also got YouTube, which doesn't pay much, but it still gives me a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And it, I think it's more of a hobby.
Yes.
And recently, I've had a lot of people approach me about properties and apartments, houses, land here in Pakistan, and they're all commission based. So I thought, if I can get into that area, earn money whilst helping people from the West buy something here, and then I can give them my honest opinion and have a look at the place for them, then that can be a source of income for me as well. So I'm looking into that
MashaAllah.
now.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
Allahumma barak, Allahumma barak. Guys, I'll tell you
Alhamdulillah.
one thing is because I've thought about living in multiple different countries and I'm yet to make my decision as to what, where,
Yeah,
and how. You know,
yeah,
the first 20 minutes of discussion.
definitely.
Every country you're in, you can always find a way and figure out a way to make income. But you just have
Yeah,
to be smart enough to build those pillars. So, for example, what the brother just talked about, you know, I already thought about a business plan that I can propose to you after this call. What you can
yeah,
do from your education side, and like I had already put this plan together, like from the last visit I had to Pakistan, but I never implemented on it. It just my brain's always churning
yeah.
ideas. Okay, so that's the first thing. I'm just gonna look at the next question. What does Farhan do? Okay, somebody said show me one Muslim country, and that's in regards to them saying, "Oh, there's no Muslim country, so where are we really making it dirty?" What's your take on that?
I think when we talk about Muslim country is when majority of the people say that they're Muslim. That's enough for us, right? We don't have to look into their heart and see if they're Muslim, or look at their actions and determine if they're Muslim or not. If majority of the people are Muslim, we say that's a Muslim majority country. And because there's many Muslim majority countries, as we say, Muslim countries, you've got many to choose from. So if you feel one country is not Muslim enough, choose another one. If you feel like none of the countries are Muslim enough, then why are you living in the West? Like, does that add up?
Yoo. You know, Subhanallah, I get this question so much with like really close friends. I say very simple. None. There's no Muslim countries. There's none.
Yeah,
Just just do your analysis from an element of probability of success you're going to Jannah. Is there
yeah,
higher
yeah, yeah,
probability of success you're going to Jannah from Saudi and your kids and your kids' kids and
yeah,
your kids' kids, or
yeah,
is America better? I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
You do the
It's
analysis,
true.
you know. I don't need to.
It's
I don't need to go into details. Oh, there's no Muslim. I'm like the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when he went to
true.
Medina. Medina was not technically a Muslim nation, but it
Yeah,
was in essence the hijrah, the first element of hijrah. But it was in essence that haven, not heaven, that haven for
yeah,
Islam, and that's what we're talking
yeah,
about here. Is that the survivability and the success of you getting to Jannah? Okay, so I
yeah.
don't want to get into details of that because I mean this is like I think you're just trying to poke a finger. Somebody said, I don't think I'll ever move there because of the politics and justice. They're talking about Pakistan specifically. And they said I'd rather move to Turkey despite its issues. What's your take on that? So don't want to move to Pakistan because of politics and issues here.
Yeah, as long as you've got 150 to $200,000 to live in Istanbul, and then you've got a source of income that's coming in every single month, then yeah,
About a
go ahead,
thousand
go to
pounds.
Turkey. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, or £1,000.
yeah,
Go to Turkey. I had
and
expats from Turkey,
yeah,
sorry, that are now
yeah,
looking to move to Pakistan because they're saying it's too difficult to live there now. The laws are changing and it's becoming more and more difficult.
yes, for expats, yes, because they've had enough
Yeah,
of those immigrations coming in from the Arab countries, and The locals,
Yes.
without, I'm a little blunt, man. That's my issue. The locals do not like the Arabs, especially the Syrians who are coming in, and that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Because many of
Yeah.
them are liberal. That's the truth. The
Yeah.
conservative
Yeah.
ones
It's
are
true.
okay with it, but personally, they're like, you guys coming in is creating inflation, is creating issues with us. Okay,
Yes.
what I would say, what I would say in regards to this is, if you're not a multi-billionaire, millionaire, and you're not somewhere up there, you don't have to worry about the injustice in politics. Come
It's
here,
true.
live your life, right? You're
It's
acting
true.
like someone's gonna come knock on your door. You don't have a 3 canal, 5 canal, 10 canal property which you're hiding finances, or someone's gonna come and try to do something to you because you're involved with politics. You're not. Unless if
Yeah.
that's the goal. You wanna come here, you wanna run for office, which mashallah, subhanallah, may Allah bless you and Allah Mubarak, you should do it. Because you
Yeah.
should, and this is where my next point comes, is that, so who's gonna make it stable? It's your
Yeah.
generation. It's us as
Yeah.
Ummah. We should be the ones trying to make our Muslim country stable. And in any
Yes.
country that exists out there, especially for Pakistani, there's only one country that's going to let you do it, is Pakistan itself. Because you can't go to any of
Yeah.
the Arab nations. They will never let you
Yeah.
get anywhere near
They
politics.
kick you straight
It
out.
can't. Yeah, they'll kick you right out. And in the West, well, you're bounded by their policies of how you can do politics. I
Yeah.
think that should answer your question. Not saying that, look, there isn't any issues. Yes, Pakistan has issues. You want to get some
Yeah.
work done, sometimes there's gonna be some time, there's gonna be some hassle, there's gonna be some hurdles. But hey, subhanallah, this is what you have to acknowledge at the same time, is that this nation has only been up for 77 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and they don't have all the debt that they stole from across the debt, and the loot that they have from all across the world to
Yeah. Yeah.
function their systems to become better, right? So, and I
Yeah.
think this is the beauty of understanding and empathizing with a nation. Empathize before you try to just sit there and pick at things. Okay, next thing. Okay, so this is something I wanted to say. I think we can finish off with this. There's a lot of people that are truly slave of money. They're not slaves of Allah. They're not Abdullah. They're slave
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Falus. Abdul
Yes.
Falus, Abdul Falus, right?
No. No. It's true.
Um,
It's true.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
and their decision making is on the basis of this. And
Yes.
now I want to open up the conversation as, even if you're Abdul Falus, even if you are slave of money, it is maybe in your own favor to start working towards remigration towards a nation, a different nation from the West. Why? Hyperinflation in the West, your income does not source your livelihood. So, for example, if you make 50K a
Yeah.
year, you're going to be end up spending more than that because of taxes will take a majority of it. That's 20K. You only have 30K left in your bank, or taxes will take
Yeah.
15K. I'll be honest, 35K is in your bank. You spend 35K to live in a Western country is very difficult. It's
Yeah.
very difficult. So that's one side I wanted to say. And I wanted to also say is reawake yourself up and become Abdullah, not Abdul Falus.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Definitely. I completely agree. I mean, I don't know if you know, but recently the UK has gone back into recession for
Yep.
like the third time already, as I've
Isn't it
been growing
sad?
up.
Isn't it sad they stole for 200 years? Almost every nation in the world they wiped out clean. And they can't maintain
Yeah.
themselves for more than 50 years.
They can't. They can't. They keep going back into recession. All that's going to happen is interest rates are going to increase.
Yes.
House prices are going to be unaffordable. Mortgages will not be easy to get hold of. Already,
Yep.
when I was younger, if you were earning, let's say, £20,000, you could get £100,000 mortgage, no issue, no questions asked.
I remember that
Now, if
time.
you're earning, yeah, if you're earning £20,000, they want to make sure is that regularly. Let's see your bank slips. Let's see where you're working. How long have you been working there? Let's look at your expenditure. They start looking at everything. Then they'll just about give you, £40,000. Maybe they'll pick you up to £60,000. They might be a bit generous. But then what £60,000 if the house is like £200,000? How
Mhm.
far are you gonna get in life?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I
As
think that
as a young person, how are you gonna be
uh,
earning enough to buy a house?
you're not. So this is the Western system, and this is what one of the brothers was talking about. It's a system. You come
Yeah.
into the system, you then get a mortgage, then you can't pay off the mortgage, so then you have your wife working too. And then as soon as your
Yes.
kids become 18, you don't want to be putting up the cost of living for your kids because it's expensive. So you're like, they're 18, start working,
Yeah.
right? And so then the kids separate from the father, the wife separates from the husband. There's conflict. Then there's divorce rates. The divorce rates are 52%. 70%
Yeah.
are because of financial issues. So doesn't
Yeah.
it all make sense? Yani, and then I don't want to. I mean, I can go into so much details about the system and how the system left Christianity in the 1800s when the
Yeah.
church separated from the government. And when the church and the government separated, that's when majority of these experimental systems were put in place, and where the different man, I'm talking about something so like and you're out here setting balloons, cat. So the system from there onwards became us. I don't want to say certain words here because I have some bigger things coming up very soon, inshallah, in regards to this discussion.
Inshallah.
But pretty much that's the problem. There's a problem, and that's what I'm saying. If even if you're Abdul Falus,
Yeah.
look, we look into which countries you think will make you easier going for Falus. Because listen, very simple. You work online or
Yeah.
you have something set up where you're making $2,000. You come live in a country like Pakistan, you're spending maybe $700 a month at the most. This is like you're living
Yeah.
luxury. And if
Yeah.
you're like say a family of 3 people or 4 people, you're still saving 1.25 thousand, $1.3 thousand, whereas in the West you won't be saving that either.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Abdul Falus, come on, become better at being Falus minded. Anywho,
Yeah.
uh, that wraps up majority of the discussion. Anything I've forgotten in regards to today's conversation? Anything you want to add on? Because I know this has been a pretty long one.
No, no, I think that alhamdulillah we've hit 1 hour, which is good. And when people come in, we'll always have another one coming up, inshallah. These
Inshallah.
discussions will never end. They'll never end.
Subhan-
We can go on forever.
Subhan- Subhanallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. All right, brothers, that wraps it up for today's conversation. If we made a discussion or a point where you think we're wrong, please let us know in the comments. If you have questions, put it in the comments. Alhamdulillah, this has been a great conversation. I hope you guys liked it. Like, share, subscribe. Go check our brother Farhan's channel. I'll put everything in the description. And as always, take care of yourselves and make dua for us. Assalamu alaikum.